God.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program's participants and do not necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
All right, everyone. Welcome to another fun day here at the PTL radio show. Usually your host is Brian Shapiro, but today you get me, Leonard Cardinelli. I am the substitute host for today. Next week, I think I'll be here a couple of days next week. I'm not sure which days. And Brian has some engagements coming up, and we'll be announcing them as we go along. Today, Brian Shapiro was on the Tim Pool show, debating with Tim Pool. And I believe it's taking place or has finished at this point. So I'm sure Brian will be posting a lot about how that went and some clips. And I think he's already got some clips online. So if you want to go in your Twitter or X account under PTL show, you can look it up and you can find the clips yourself. It was a really, really busy day in the news. So much going on, so incredible how many different things are happening. One big story out of New York, Letitia James, who has been indicted, came out and pleaded not guilty. And she said that she plans on fighting it. And then she went outside the courthouse and had people chanting, "No fear, no fear," saying that faith is stronger than fear, things like that, and plans to fight the Trump administration. She's calling it a vindictive prosecution. Retribution prosecution, which I think we can all agree with. I would say that's fairly accurate, if not 100% accurate. And it's so petty because it has to do with two mortgages and how she filled out the application. And it wasn't a lot of money. They said it was $1,500 a month or something like that she would save. And actually they recalculated, and it's only $15 a month difference. So it's a really minute amount of money. And when you ask, does the amount of money affect it? Yes, it does, because we're spending taxpayer dollars trying to prosecute people on a case that I believe 2 attorneys were fired for saying they didn't think it had merit. So I'm pretty sure she's going to be successful. And then, of course, with Adam Schiff, they're trying to convene a grand jury and possibly put charges against him. And Adam Schiff came out and said it's a sham. He doesn't think it'll amount to any kind of charges, and he plans to stand up to Trump also for his vindictive prosecution, as you know, misusing the Office of the Attorney General and the investigators, and misusing them to try and go after his political opponents. So let's go a little bit over the rundown for today. In a few minutes, we're going to start with some clips, and we're going to go over those clips. There's some good ones in there. I think you're going to like them. And then we're going to take your phone calls. So when we announce that we're opening the phone lines, don't forget to call in. They fill up fast, so you may have to call in more than once, and you may have to wait on hold for a little bit. And just like yesterday, we were packed, and I tried to go through the people. I have to allow them to say what they want to say, and I tried to get through them as quickly as possible so that we can get to as many callers as we can. But keep the faith, keep calling in, and eventually you're more than likely to get through. Okay, where are we going now? Let's go to the first clip. In the first clip, so I had to play this because it's a collage of Speaker Mike Johnson and saying time and time and time again, when it's pressing information about Donald Trump, how he doesn't know about the situation, and I haven't heard about that. And keep in mind, this is a Speaker of the House. This is the third in succession for the presidency, and he's claiming a whole list of items that he doesn't know about or hasn't heard about. And remember, his staff would likely get fired if they didn't keep him informed. Let's play the clip.
Are you with the president apparently seeking $230 million from the Department of Justice?
I don't know the details about that. I've just read it.
I don't know. I've never seen the Epstein evidence. It wasn't in my lane.
I don't know anything about the meme coin thing. I don't know.
I don't know anything about the dinner. I was a little busy this past week, as you know.
I'm not following all the twists and turns of the Qatar jet. I haven't looked into the details of the RSC budget. There's lots of nuances. That's the first I've heard of that. I don't know anything about it. I have not heard or looked into any of the details of that. I've been a little busy. I haven't seen the specifics of that, and I don't know. I don't know the details. I just saw a headline this morning. I don't know what you're talking about with the children. Look, I'm not going to make any detailed statement on this because I don't know the details. I've been very busy the last 48 hours or so.
That performance in front of the generals, that
I didn't see it.
is so dangerous.
I haven't seen it. I can't comment on it. I've been a little busy today. That's not my lane. I don't know.
I don't know anything about it yet. I've been really busy, as you probably noticed.
I don't know what Eric was saying because I only heard just a snippet there. I don't know the context.
You just saw it, sir.
Yeah, okay, so first let me say thank you to our friends in the live chat for letting us know the volume. I think the mic wasn't pointing in the right direction, so we made that adjustment. Thank you for letting us know about the volume, and it needed to be a little louder. But, you know, what a clown show. You know, what an absolute clown show with the circus music and him saying, I don't know, and wearing the Donald Trump knee pads 24/7. And, you know, he's got the look with the hair parted on the side and the glasses, trying to look like an accountant that you could have confidence in to be your CPA and do your taxes and an honest guy. And, man, just about everything that comes out of his mouth is inaccurate, and I just thought it was funny that they played clip after clip after clip of him saying, I don't know, and I haven't checked into that yet. But yet, if you ask him about the continuing resolution, if you ask him about Medicare, Medicaid coverage, if you ask him about the hungry children who are going to lose their SNAP benefits, if you ask him about the WIC program, where the infants are not going to be able to get their proper nutrition and their needs met, I don't know. I don't know if I heard about that yet. So we're calling BS on that, and clearly, this is something that people should be looking at because it really sums up Mike Johnson. In the next clip. So going back a little bit, MAGA has always obsessed over the Epstein files. And you had people like Dan Bongino and Steve Bannon, and you had Kash Patel. And for a very long time, months, if not a year or two, were pushing that, well, these Epstein files are going to come out. Because when they do, they supposedly had all these Democrats who were part of a cabal, and it was international, and it was child sex trafficking, and they gave all this red meat to the MAGA base, and got the MAGA base all fired up about all these Democrats that were going to go to jail and be put in prison, and we're finally expose them for who they are. But now we're starting to see that the people in the Epstein files, Donald Trump was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein by his own admission for 10 years. There's multiple pictures. There's pictures of him together, at events and dancing, and his wife's in the pictures with Donald Trump. And so obviously they were very good friends and spent a lot of time together. But now they don't seem too keen on it. Let's play the clip.
He's got quite a list of people that have showed up at his island from what I've read. Bill Clinton, Bill Gates. So isn't there something there? And doesn't that speak of the debauchery that's at these levels?
Who Jeffrey Epstein parties with?
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be something.
Epstein famously spent a lot of time with Trump. Is that an issue?
I didn't know that he spent a lot of time with Trump.
I know the Democratic Party is, big into doing stuff underneath the surface level.
What do you mean? Like what?
Like human trafficking?
Oh my God. The Dems are into human trafficking.
Of course. I mean, how do you think they make most of their money anyways?
You won't let that stand.
No.
Just wait till the Epstein files come out.
Right. It's going to happen any minute. So you guys still are anti-human trafficking?
100%.
100%.
You guys did invite Andrew Tate to come talk to your group.
Yeah.
Yep. Andrew Tate, kind of big in the alleged human trafficking thing.
You got to make sure that's not going to be happening here.
You are not welcome here, human traffickers.
That's right.
Except you are invited to our group to talk.
That was a comedian from The Daily Show interviewing a couple of MAGAs who were all against human trafficking, and you could tell by the first person, he kind of, sets him up and says, so you're against it, right? And he goes, well, it looks like Trump is in the Epstein files. Well, I don't know about that. Or, yeah, I'm still against human trafficking. And so that's kind of what happened. What happened was they thought, the MAGAs thought, they were going to get a bunch of prominent Democrats involved in this and what they call left-leaning, people and businessmen. And as it turns out, it looks like it's probably going to be a lot of people who were friends with Trump and high-ranking individuals. Trump's trying to push the Bill Clinton thing and say, well, he was worse than me. But like Brian and I spoke about the other day, how can you say that if somebody was worse? What does that mean? That if one person did it 20 times and you only did it 15, and you point and say, what about him? Well, you're still guilty of the crimes that you committed, no matter how many other people did it. And in the next clip, Trump just made a fool of himself. He's French reporters asking him questions, and he clearly can hear the reporter's question, because I can hear it clearly, and he doesn't know what to say, so he kind of tries to buy himself some time with Pam Bondi so that he can think of how to respond. Let's play the clip.
Yesterday there was a vote at the Knesset on annexing the West Bank. Do you see it as a challenge to your peace efforts?
Could you say that louder, please?
Yes, yesterday there was a vote at the Knesset in Israel on annexing the West Bank. Do you see it as a challenge to your peace efforts?
Will you answer that, please? Because I cannot understand the words you say. Where are you from? Where are you from? You're from France, beautiful accent, but we can't understand what you're saying. The West Bank is, don't worry about the West Bank. Israel's not going to do anything with the West Bank, okay? Don't worry about it. Is that your question? They're not going to do anything with the West Bank. Don't worry about it. Israel's doing very well. They're not going to do anything with it.
Okay, so that's not accurate when he says Israel's not going to do anything with it, because they already did. So what she's asking is, the Speaker of the House, what amounts to the Speaker of the House equivalent in Israel, took a vote, and it passed, to occupy the West Bank. And as you know, the West Bank is divided into basically 3 sections. There's an A, a B, and a C. One section, the residents and the Palestinians kind of control. Then Israel in the B region mainly does the security. And this is a loose explanation, but just to give you an idea. So in the B section, Israel does most of the security. And in the C section, there's residential places, and Israel continues to have areas where they're secure and other people cannot come into. So it's kind of a 3-part sharing of a piece of land called the West Bank, and they voted that it belongs to Israel. And so what they're asking, what the reporter was asking, is they're asking Trump, will that mess up your plans on a peace deal? Will that mess up your plans on a ceasefire? And I think it's once again, just like Putin, he says something to Trump, and then Trump comes back later and says, I think he was lying to me. Yeah, duh. And so Netanyahu obviously has a lot of control over Trump, and he really doesn't listen to him. He does whatever he wants. And so Trump, yes, is going to have a tougher time now that passed through their parliament and they voted on it. It's going to be a much more difficult situation. And so I think that's going to turn out to be a much more difficult situation than it appears just on its face. So this next clip is Representative Jamie Raskin from Maryland's 8th District. And he's explaining how the Hate America rally was on January 6th. And since January 6th was an attack on the Capitol, why is Johnson so quiet about it? Let's hear the clip.
And I just want to add finally to what Mr. Jeffries said. Speaker Johnson described the exercise of First Amendment rights across the country by 6 or 7 million Americans as part of the No Kings rallies as a Hate America rally. The Hate America rally happened on January 6th, 2021. We saw what a Hate America rally looks like. There were more than 140 police officers who were wounded, injured, hospitalized. Many of them have been forced out of police work because of what happened on that day. And what does Speaker Johnson say about that? Nothing. Now, he's part of the cover-up. He's part of trying to sweep the whole thing under the rug. Meantime, you had 7 million people participating peacefully, non-violently in the American political process yesterday. And everybody should be praised for that. Those protests were a model for First Amendment exercise in the United States.
Well, there you have it. So Representative Jamie Raskin sums it up and he says, how can you call a peaceful protest, which he said 6 or 7 million, but remember, he was talking a day or two after the rally, and they're saying it's probably more like 10 plus million that were at the actual rally. So he's saying you see that as hate America, peaceful people in inflatable costumes marching down the street, and then Trump tried to sell it as a paid for advertisement by groups, and just look at the signs. And then they showed the signs, and instead of being these printed signs that you would get at a print shop, they were actually handwritten, and they were in different colors and crayons, and you could tell they were homemade, but they tried to say that they were planted there. And then he talks about Mike Johnson, and he says, well, how could Mike Johnson call that a hate America tour when it was completely peaceful? If you're going to protest, I would say this is how Americans protest. That was as American as it gets. Millions of people across dozens and dozens of cities walking down the street. Did you see Chicago? Chicago was packed. The whole street, the parks. Manhattan, they went down, I forget which street it was, but they showed the entire street packed from side to side for blocks and blocks and blocks. Hundreds of thousands of people, if not a million or more. So this just shows how Mike Johnson is not, I mean, he's coming out with stuff that's just not true. It's just rhetoric. It's hyperbole. There's no accuracy to what they say. And it shows how desperate they are to cover up the Epstein files, to not bring the Congress back into session. And I really think this November 1st deadline, when people are going to lose their benefits, it's really important. It's a big deal. Let's take a look at the next clip. This is Rachel Maddow from MSNBC, providing the facts on just how exactly Obamacare cuts will literally affect families in America.
Look at these numbers from the New York Times tonight. Look at this. This is for the tens of millions of Americans who get their health insurance through the online marketplaces. Look. Based on the newly posted information, meaning the pricing information that's now being posted in multiple states, a family of four making $130,000 in Maine, so you combine the family's income, everybody's salaries, you got up to $130,000, that family would face an increase in their annual health insurance premiums next year of $16,100. That's how much their health insurance premiums would go up. But maybe that's, that sounds like it's a fairly well-off family, and you think, oh, well, maybe that doesn't apply to me. I'm not quite in that kind of a bracket. Well, imagine you're in a couple, you're each 60 years old, and you put both of your salaries together combined, you make $85,000 a year. So maybe one of you's making 40 grand a year, maybe one of you's making $45,000 a year. Combined, your couple's income is $85,000 a year. In Maryland, your insurance premium is going to go up by $13,700. In Minnesota, your insurance is going to go up by $15,500. In Nevada, it's going to go up by $18,100. In Kentucky, the increase for you guys as a couple will be that you are expected to pay an additional $23,700 per year. That is the amount of increase we are looking at in people's health insurance premiums.
Okay.
Can your family afford just randomly an additional charge of $24,000 for exactly what you're getting right now for $24,000 less than that? I mean, these are insane numbers. But this is what Republicans, in their policy changes on healthcare, what they have done to health insurance costs.
Okay, I was a little premature with my my comments there. I was so excited about getting to this, and thank you, Numchuck, for keeping me on pace. I appreciate that. So these are hard numbers. These are calculated numbers. This is not hyperbole. This is not some kind of stunt by Rachel Maddow. If you know Rachel Maddow, she's solid. Her reputation as a reporter is solid. Her integrity is intact. She reports the news, but can you imagine if you lived in a state where a combined income of $85,000 for a man and his wife, or a man and their partner, a woman and their partner, whoever it was, the two people, is now not enough to pay health insurance as it is, and then you're gonna go up $13,000 a year in some states. You're gonna go up $15,000 some states, $23,000, $1,000 and change. That's $1,000 to $2,000 a month. And this is what the continuing resolution is about. This is what the battle over medical coverage is. And if people don't think it's real, just wait till November 1st, because some people believe that the Republicans will come to the table before November 1st. They're a little bit afraid of November 1st because about 42 million people will lose their SNAP benefits, or they'll be seriously depleted. And so people are going to start to be hungry. People are going to want food. And thank you to Rachel Maddow for reporting that. That was very valuable information. So moving on. So the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, again, talking out both sides of his mouth. So back in the past, he was talking about how unimportant CRs were, continuing resolutions, and how they should not be voted on because we don't need to, and there needs to be a negotiation. Then in the same clip, we go to 2025 where he says that they do need to be voted on, and it's just an example of how Mike Johnson is, speaks what they call a forked tongue. And so let's hear what he has to say.
I understand it. I hate CRs. We shouldn't do this, and we're not going to do it again. Next year, we're going to get back to the actual lawful appropriations process that the American people deserve. But this is a necessary step to bridge that gap to get us there and prevent a government shutdown.
The Republicans were working to do the responsible thing and offer a clean CR to fund the government. That's our most basic job here.
Is that I'm so sorry, Steve. Is that a commitment from you that next year, no CRs, you won't sign on to it, that we would go through the regular order process?
That's exactly right. We're going to force it the way it's supposed to be done.
Most recently, we did our jobs, and we passed a clean, nonpartisan CR to keep the government open for the people.
So Speaker Mike Johnson went from the person who believed that we're not going to do any more CRs because that's not the correct process. You have to sit down and negotiate. You have to include everything. And what he was trying to say at the time is, why would you keep doing continuing resolutions for a few months? Why would you just pay your bills knowing that you have more bills to pay? And in some cases, an example is using your money like a credit card to pay another credit card. And that's always bad financial advice. And I'm not a financial expert, just so you know. And so now his opinion is, let's just do the CR. And the Democrats are like, well, there's a process and we should negotiate, and maybe we don't want to just pay the bills for the next couple of months. Maybe we want to pay them, maybe we want to fix some of the problems. And as a matter of fact, we can look at the whole budget process and we can take some of that money that Doge saved or some of the other money. Well, I guess Trump's going to spend it on the ballroom anyway, or the DOJ is going to pay Trump his lawsuit for $230 million. So the money's being used. But part of the process is, before you have a continuing resolution, let's work on the budget. Let's work on a budget that works for everyone. And it's just strange how in 1 year, from 2024 to 2025, Mike Johnson goes from the guy who wants to sit down and do it properly and not use continuing resolutions, and now he's the guy that just says, let's just do the continuing resolution. We'll come back to the table. We'll negotiate with you over Medicare and Medicaid before the end of the year, before December 31st, before they run out. And the Democrats are smart enough in this situation to know that Mike Johnson and the Republicans will never come back to the table if they give in. And then, okay, so this is a big one. This clip went viral. Canada is upset about the tariffs. So they put out a video from April 25th, 1987 of Ronald Reagan talking bad about how bad tariffs are and how bad trade wars are and how dangerous they are. And the Trump administration is saying that it's been altered. Canada has said they took some parts out. But anyway, it really, really got the attention of the Trump administration, and they're very, very upset about it. Donald Trump was so upset that he ceased negotiations with Canada. He cut them off. They're done. So let's listen to the clip, and you can decide for yourself.
Throughout the world, there's a growing realization that the way to prosperity for all nations is rejecting protectionist legislation and promoting fair and free competition. Now, there are sound historical reasons for this. For those of us who lived through the Great Depression, The memory of the suffering it caused is deep and searing. And today, many economic analysts and historians argue that high tariff legislation passed back in that period, called the Smoot-Hawley Tariff, greatly deepened the Depression and prevented economic recovery. You see, at first, when someone says, let's impose tariffs on foreign imports, it looks like they're doing the patriotic thing by protecting American products and jobs. And sometimes for a short while it works, but only for a short time. What eventually occurs is, first, homegrown industries start relying on government protection in the form of high tariffs. They stop competing and stop making the innovative management and technological changes they need to succeed in world markets. And then, while all this is going on, something even worse occurs. High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries and the triggering of fierce trade wars. The result is more and more tariffs, higher and higher trade barriers, and less competition. So soon, because of the prices made artificially high by tariffs that subsidize inefficiency and poor management, people stop buying. Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs. The memory of all this occurring back in the 30s made me determined when I came to Washington to spare the American people the protectionist legislation that destroys prosperity. Now, it hasn't always been easy. There are those in the Congress, just as there were back in the 30s, who want to go for the quick political advantage, who risk America's prosperity for the sake of a short-term appeal to some special interest group, who forget that more than 5 million American jobs are directly tied to the foreign export business, and additional millions are tied to imports. Well, I've never forgotten those jobs, and on trade issues, by and large, we've done well.
So, great explanation by Ronald Reagan, and it really rubbed Trump the wrong way because it's really exposing how bad tariffs are, how they're bad for the country, they're bad for relations, and they go nowhere. They're eventually going to cost millions of jobs, if not hundreds of thousands of jobs. Like we talked about yesterday, the cattle ranchers right now could barely afford the tariffs, which they were willing to pay in order to sell their beef in America. And because Trump, I guess, fell in love with Milei from Argentina, he's now taken the export restrictions off of Argentina and is allowing them to sell their beef to America to compete with their own American farmers. I mean, who does that? And the MAGAs are still standing there going, well, that's okay. I understand. He'll get it right. No, the cattle ranchers are pissed. They're very upset. They don't like this because what's happening is not only do they have to pay the tariffs here in America by, if you understand supply and demand, it's real simple. So the demand is always high, but if the supply is limited, you can charge more. Now, if Argentina is going to start selling beef in America, it's going to start lowering the price. The price is going to go down for the cattle ranchers and for the beef. And some of the cattle ranchers were online or are on the news, and they're saying if this really happens, they may have to go out of business and close farms that have been handed down through their family for decades. But does the Donald Trump administration care about that? No, he's just in love with the president of Argentina. Sunday's elections are coming up. Trump says that he's not going to give any more money to Argentina if he doesn't win the election. But that's direct involvement by a U.S. president in another country's elections. And we're supposed to stay out of it and let the natural selection take place of each country, and we're not supposed to exert pressure in a political way or a financial way to try to decide who leads each country. But for some reason, this guy Milei, they say he's brutal. They say he's a dictator. He doesn't follow the law. He's a terrible person. They say that he treats his people terrible. He almost killed the entire value of the peso in his country by misusing investments and misusing the government. And so he was begging for a bailout because the peso was about to be worth almost nothing. And for some reason, Trump wants to give him $20 billion, while November 1st, people are going to lose their health coverage. People are going to lose their SNAP benefits. And like we talk about all the time on the show, if there's a poor family and your child goes to public school, he gets a meal every day. He gets a good meal every day under the SNAP program, and possibly the best meal of the week that child gets. Because on the weekends, they may not have as much food, or there's some food insecurity. And now the Trump administration, in order to, staying in line with his one big, beautiful, ugly bill, he's decided that he doesn't care if those children get fed, even if they're from a poor family. You know what? They should have been from a rich family like me, like a billionaire, and should have had their dad hand them millions and millions of dollars to start their own businesses that were, I think Trump claimed bankruptcy 5 times or 6 times. He just tanked one company after the other. So is he tanking America? Is he going to do the same thing with America? Is he going to make America go bankrupt because he doesn't know how to run a business? I don't know who thinks he's a good businessman, and I don't know how he got that reputation, but supposedly some people voted for him just because of that. So Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, and Donald Trump are asked about a memo circulating on social media, details the establishment of a National Guard response force that is going to be trained in crowd control and civil unrest and deployed, listen to this, in all 50 states as of April 2026.
For Secretary Hegseth, sir, a memo circulating on social media details the establishment of a National Guard response force that's going to be trained in crowd control and civil unrest and deployed in all 50 states by April of 2026. Can you verify the authenticity of that memo, and do you have any more information on the operations?
I'm not going to answer particulars on something that may be in the planning process, but we definitely do have multiple layers of National Guard response forces, whether it's in each state, whether it's regionally, whether it's Title 10 active duty, whether it's Washington, D.C. We've got a lot of different ways that constitutionally and legally we can employ Title 10 and Title 32 forces, and we will do so when necessary.
So what does that sound like? What does response forces that are going to be trained in crowd control and civil unrest and deployed in all 50 states by April of 2026, if that's in fact what was said in the memo, what does that sound like? Does that sound like incremental martial law? Does that sound like incremental occupation of U.S. military forces in America? And does that have to do with the midterms? Because the midterms are coming one way or the other. And what if the president said, I'm not going to allow a vote because we're at war, and picks some country and declares war and doesn't allow a vote? Or what if there's a vote and they claim that that certain states were rigging the election and they're rigging the voting machines? Remember, a prominent Trumper who's I think a billionaire, just recently purchased the Dominion voting machines. What does that mean? What about Elon Musk with his satellites? Didn't Elon Musk and Trump kind of hint that something happened in the 2024 elections, and we'll tell you about it later, and it had to do with satellites and software, and then Elon Musk comes on the news and he says, just so you know, I don't trust software because software is so easy to manipulate. Well, what do voting machines run on? They run on software. So it's something that Americans need to be aware of. What can we do about it? I don't know. State by state, they're going to have to do what Governor Newsom is doing in California, and use the law to his advantage, and try to stand up to Trump as much as he possibly can. Which leads us to our next clip. California Governor Gavin Newsom is saying how red states aren't even hiding the fact that they're willing to do whatever their dear leader, Donald Trump, tells them to do, and a little bit about what people can do to push back.
So you saw what just happened in North Carolina. They're not even hiding the fact. Whatever the dear leader, Donald Trump, is telling them to do, they're doing it. They did the same thing, redistricted mid-decade in their state, same thing that was done in Texas, same thing that was done in Missouri. You're seeing red states all across this country try to rig the 2026 election. That's why it's so important that we do everything to fight back, not only by supporting Prop 50, Yes on 50, but getting others to turn in their ballots, knock on doors, make phone calls, so that we win this campaign and we protect our democracy.
Okay, so there you have it. California Governor Gavin Newsom keeping pace with Trump, trying to sound the alarm and saying we have to fight back. You have to stand up. I don't know of any other states that are even trying to redistrict. I know there was a rumor that Chicago, Illinois would try to redistrict. New York would try to redistrict. There was talk of Oregon and some other states, but Trump is gaining votes by the minute, by the second. And thank God for Governor Newsom. And we're going to see, because I think I want to say November 7th, the vote will be in California on Prop 50. Prop 50 is for them to circumvent the commission and do the redistricting and get permission to do the redistricting in California. So we're hoping that goes through. Steve Bannon is insisting that Donald Trump will be president again for a third term in 2028, and that America needs him to be. And I'm gonna hold on one second on the clip, because we have someone in the super chat who just made a comment about Steve Bannon. Let's read it. We have Lori Villalobos, and she says everyone needs to wake up. Bannon and the others behind the scenes are finding a way to have Trump run again in 2028. We didn't take it seriously with the 2025 handbook, and yes, and we paid the price for that. So let me finish setting up the clip, and we'll go from there. So Mr. Bannon, one of the chief architects of the MAGA movement, spoke to Zanny Minton-Bedos, editor-in-chief, and Ed Carr, deputy editor in Washington, D.C., for The Economist, and this is what he said.
He's going to get a third term. So Trump 28, Trump is going to be president 28, and people just ought to get accommodated with that.
So what about the 22nd Amendment?
There's many different alternatives. At the appropriate time, we'll lay out what the plan is, but there's a plan. We had longer odds in 16 and longer odds in 24 than we got in 28. And President Trump will be the president of the United States, and the country needs him to be president of the United States. We have to finish what we started. Trump is a vehicle. I know this will drive you guys crazy, but he's a vehicle of divine providence. He's an instrument. He's very imperfect. He's not churchy, not particularly religious, but he's an instrument of divine will. And you can tell this of how he's pulled this off. We need him for at least one more term, right? And he'll get that in 28.
You're not driving me crazy. I'm trying to understand the coherence of the things you've just told me. On the one hand, you've said the Constitution is fit for purpose. Secondly, you've said that President Trump needs another term, even though the 22nd Amendment makes pretty clear that he cannot have another term.
Why does it make that clear?
Because he's in his second term already.
At some point in time, we will make sure we go through, Zanny, and define all those terms.
But you will be undermining the spirit of that amendment, even if you find some way around it.
If the American people, with the mechanisms we have, put Trump back in office, are the American people tearing up the Constitution? Would that be tearing up?
Well,
would the American people be going against the spirit of the Constitution, ma'am?
I think yes, actually, because I think what you will end up with is a populist justification for a quasi-dictatorship.
That's not true at all.
That's what it sounds like.
It's not. Trump is a dictatorship. Did you just see the compromises he had to make on the big, beautiful bill? You see the compromises he has to do on everything, on accommodating Zelensky, on what President Trump is nothing but a series of negotiations to kind of keep this thing rolling forward, where he's having trade-offs all the time.
Steve, you've just spent the last 20 minutes telling me we have to smash the other side. There's no room for debate. There's no room for compromise. We must smash them. And now you're telling me this is a negotiation. I mean, that's
no.
I think that's why it seems to me some kind of tension there.
First off, the only way President Trump wins in 2028 and continues to stay in office is by the will of the American people, okay? And the will of the American people is what the Constitution embodies. And so I think we're going to be in good hands there. We need to finish what we started.
Okay, I don't know what he's talking about, finish what he started. I mean, I guess the destruction of America and American institutions, and to make rich billionaires even more rich. Did you know that the top 1% of the richest people in America have more wealth than the next 5.5 million people? I mean, that's just ridiculous. That's a ridiculous amount of money. And then, there's a question of, is it clear? And he says, yeah, it's clear, but, that doesn't mean we can't change it. So I'll read a little bit about the 22nd Amendment. Section 1, no person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice. So for those who I'm not a legal expert, but I was a union president, and there were many lawsuits and grievances, and I had a lot of legal experience trying to defend my members and stand up for my members' rights. So I know a little bit about it. And also in police reports and police policy, the word shall is definitive. It's different than may. So when the Constitution says no person shall is a definitive word. It's not really open for debate. It's not ambiguous at all. It means you shall not be elected to the office of the president more than twice. And no person who has held office of the president or acted as president for more than 2 years of a term to which some other person was elected president shall be elected to the office of the president more than once. And by the way, if you're wondering, that also includes vice president. Because in order to be vice president, as you know, you have to qualify to be president. You have to be able to be the president in the same manner. So there was some kind of tricky wording where they could have J.D. Vance run as president and Donald Trump be the vice president, but really have the power. So the 22nd Amendment would also bar him from running as vice president. And I think Steve Bannon is saying that, well, we all know, you can sue anyone for anything on any day. Will it have merit? Will it be heard? The Supreme Court, is 6-3 in favor of conservative Republicans right now. They love Donald Trump, and so it may go, I think they're counting on it going to the Supreme Court. But for those people out there, those of you, these listeners who really love Barack Obama and think Obama was one of the greatest presidents we've ever had and someone who could stand up to Trump and in fact beat him in an election, the question then becomes, wouldn't that open the door for Obama to now run in 2020? I don't think he has the desire to do so. I think he enjoys his retirement like I do. And I think that he would help or he would make speeches, but I don't see Obama, throwing his hat in the ring, so to speak, for 2028. What we need is Democrats need someone who's willing to become a leader, who's willing to put together a Project 2029, who's willing to put together a plan. And the plan has to include Democratic policy. Where do the independents, where do the Democrats stand? Where do the left of center, where do the center-left Democrats stand? What do they think about abortion? How do they feel about immigration and the border and these ICE agents, these thugs that are arresting Americans? How do Democrats, what's their position on the financial situation of the Consumer Price Index? It's going through the roof. It's up 3% in 1 month. That's inflation, people. That's inflation. And if you're looking at meats have gone up, deli meats have gone up, and if you look at inflation across the board, it's going up. What is Democrats? If you ask a Democrat and you say, hey, what are you going to do about this housing crisis? What are you going to do about these ICE agents? Instead of saying holding them accountable and what they're doing is not right, shouldn't a politician who was elected by hundreds of thousands of people or elected by millions of people, shouldn't that politician be able to say, this is my policy, this is my plan, this is what I believe. When it comes to abortion, this is what I'm going to push for. I'm going to try to bring back Roe versus Wade. Maybe that's their position. But at least if they say that, even if you don't agree, you know that that person has a position. And by the way, this is why Mamdani in New York is so popular. Because you can barely ask him a question about anything, whether it's macroeconomics or microeconomics or whether it's rent control. He has an answer for you. And he says that the way he wants to help people in Manhattan and New York City is to put a cap on rent. The rent is out of control. I have a son that lives in Manhattan, and I'm telling you, it's one of the most expensive places on the planet, and it gets worse every year. So, moving on. Trump says, he says, with regard to bombing these boats out of the Caribbean Sea or out of the Atlantic or wherever they happen to be from Venezuela or Colombia, or we don't even know because the boat is blown to smithereens by the time they get to it. And he says, I don't think we're necessarily going to ask for a declaration of war. He says, I think we're just going to kill people that are bringing drugs into this country. And this is him. These are his words.
and briefed them on the operations
No, we
against
will
these?
go, I said.
You will go. And
We
it would
will
be
go. We're
difficult
gonna
for them
go.
to object.
I don't see any loss in going. No reason not to. You know, they'll always complain, oh, we should have gone. So we're going to definitely, I'd like to just tell you, let's go. We'll go.
Mr.
We're going to
President-
tell them what we're going to do, and I think they're going to probably like it, except for the radical left lunatics.
And Mr. President, if you are declaring war against these cartels and Congress is likely to approve of that process, why not just ask for a declaration of war?
I live with. Well, I don't think we're going to necessarily ask for a declaration of war. I think we're just going to kill people that are bringing drugs into our country. Okay? We're going to kill them. You know, they're going to be like dead. Okay?
So, can anyone remember any president that spoke in this manner about people who were drug carriers in the Caribbean, possibly fishermen? Remember, there's no contact that we can see. There's no probable cause that we can see, no reasonable suspicion. And like Rand Paul was explaining a couple of days ago, he's saying one of those boats, in order to reach American shores, the ones that they're blowing up, would have to refuel a minimum of 3 times because of the distance from where they're leaving, from Venezuela or Colombia or that South American area, that they'd have to refuel 3 times. Like you'd have to have a complete organized operation, not just 3 or 4 or 5 people in a boat traveling through the water. And so I'm all about stopping drugs, the war against drugs. I can tell you in 25 years in law enforcement, I've arrested countless. I couldn't even count how many drug dealers I've arrested, and I was happy to do it. But at the same time, I had to have reasonable suspicion to contact them or probable cause to arrest them. It wasn't just like I could walk up and go, you know what? You know, drugs have been coming out of that apartment complex quite a bit. You know, we know drugs are coming out of that. You're under arrest and take them to jail with no probable cause and ruin their life without any reason, without evidence, without proof, without testimony, without witness, without the drugs being tested. And it's just not something that is done in America. And I thought it was a good clip to play because he just came right out and said it. We're just going to kill him. And some people think that, I don't know about in his case, but some people think once people get a taste for murder, they never go back. And that, you know, that's just a psychological evaluation. You know, once they cross that line, they feel the power and they never want to stop. Now we're going to talk a little bit about Trump pardoning the founder of Binance and ask, did it have anything to do with his involvement in the family's crypto business?
The founder of Binance. Can you explain why you chose to pardon him, and did it have anything to do with his involvement in your
Which one?
family's?
Who is that?
The founder of Binance. He has a involvement in your own
The
family's
recent
crypto
one, yes.
business.
I believe we're talking about the same person because I do pardon a lot of people. I don't know. He was recommended by a lot of people. A lot of people say that. Are you talking about the crypto person? A lot of people say that he wasn't guilty of anything. He served 4 months in jail, and they say that he was not guilty of anything. That what he did. Well, you don't know much about crypto. You know nothing about. You know nothing about nothing. You fake news. But let me just tell you that he was somebody that, as I was told, I don't know him. I don't believe I've ever met him, but I've been told by a lot of support. He had a lot of support, and they said that what he did is not even a crime. It wasn't a crime. That he was persecuted by the Biden administration. And so I gave him a pardon at the request of a lot of very good people.
So, if you're not familiar with it, reports on October 23rd, 2025 indicate that President Trump pardoned Xiaopeng CZ Zhao, the founder of the cryptocurrency exchange Binance. The pardon has drawn bipartisan condemnation and criticism from legal experts for numerous reasons, including perceived corruption and undermining justice. So there's some corruption and some ethical concerns. You know, it was a political favor, and has a potential for bribery. Is it a contradiction of established standards? Is it reinforcing the thought of pay to play? And it looks really bad. It looks like it's probably going to benefit the cryptocurrency, and I don't know if it's going to benefit his family directly, but it looks bad on its face as far as corruption. It looks bad on its face as far as ethics violations. It sets a dangerous precedent. It's weakening regulatory efforts. It's ignoring sanction violations, enabling illicit finance, and destabilizing the crypto market are possible concerns. And I believe that it needs to be investigated, and I believe they may initiate an investigation. And by the way, there is talk that the Congress, the House of Representatives, may start to question the companies that are paying for Trump's ballroom. What do I mean by that? So under the trust laws, they would have to report where that money is going and why. And they can bring them in. They can subpoena them and bring them in and say, okay, you're willing to put $25 million into this project. And under the antitrust laws, I need to understand why you're contributing to this. What are your reasoning? And kind of lock them into a story so that they know, because we're setting a bad example by taking money from companies that we know are going to benefit on the other side. There's no way that companies that big are going to invest millions and millions and millions of dollars without some kind of return on investment, some ROI, if you know, to use a business term. They're not just going to put that money out because, hey, I like the guy and I think he's cool and I love the ballroom. That's not how they work. So this morning on BBC, they showed a meeting of what they're calling the Coalition of the Willing. And they had some of the top leaders. They had Zelensky from Ukraine. They had Prime Minister Stammer from the United Kingdom. And they were talking about long-range and short-range missiles and how the coalition is going to move forward. Let's listen.
Because, and I say it again, Ukraine's future is our future. What happens in the weeks and months ahead is pivotal for the security of the United Kingdom and all our allies across NATO and beyond. So we are determined to act now, to dial up the pressure on Putin and finally bring him to the negotiating table in good faith. Thank you.
Okay, so that is Prime Minister Stammer speaking with Vladimir Zelensky right next to him. And what they explain in the conference is that this coalition has to support Ukraine because they know the European nations are next. I mean, they're literally right on the other side, a lot of them right on the other side of Poland. And so Poland is one of the closest, but after that, you get to many of these European nations. And Prime Minister Stammer was trying to explain to the public that they've already given Ukraine some Storm Shadow missiles and Scalps missiles, which most people don't know, but those are basically short and medium range missiles. So they're already given a stockpile. They're also given them more defensive weapons for taking down drones and missiles themselves. What they haven't done yet, and what they said they're discussing, I thought they were going to give them some of the long range missiles so they could strike deeper into Russia. But at this point today, they said they're discussing giving more long range missiles, and they're still hopeful that Donald Trump will supply the Tomahawk missiles, but I don't see that happening. So basically, you have these European nations who are stepping up and saying, I think Germany was there, I think Italy was there, and they're stepping up and they're saying, hey, we better get together. And it doesn't look like America is going to help Ukraine enough to fight off the Russians. They did mention that Trump sanctioned 2 of the major oil companies, and that could possibly hurt them. And so they did thank Trump for that. And they also mentioned that they are looking at legislation, they meaning these European countries and Zelensky, they're looking at possibly taking the sanctions that they withheld from Russia and the funds that Russia has not been able to acquire and not giving them to Ukraine. And I want to say it's to the tune of like $2 billion. So they want to give it to Ukraine, the Russian money to Ukraine, but they're going to do it as a loan. So it doesn't look like it's directly money that was provided to Ukraine, and they would be on the hook for the money should that time ever come. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start to open the phone lines. So we'd like you to call in at 702-221-7283. That's 702-221-7283. We're going to start to open the phone lines. We're going to take a quick break to reset, and we'll be back on the other side.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
For more information, give Radio U a call, 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at radioYOU101.com.
All right, welcome back to the Pushing the Limits radio show with your host, Leonard Cardinelli. Brian Shapiro will be back Monday, so all of you who are missing him so much like we are, he will be back Monday, and I'm sure he'll have plenty to say about his debate with Tim Pool over in West Virginia, and we're looking forward to Brian being here and back in studio and just pushing out the energy like he usually does. So now we're going to take some phone calls. Let's start with Karen. Hello, Karen. It's Leonard. What's on your mind?
Hi. I just wanted to say how anybody could back Trump and make it sound like he's the second coming of Christ when he will take food out of babies' mouths. He would take medical care from the infirm. He's misogynistic. Anybody with an ounce of any Christian heart that knows their 10 commandments would look at this man and say, there is no way God has even looked kindly upon him.
Yeah, well,
and to sit there and try to say.
Yeah, I agree. I often mull that over in my mind as well. I try to think and I try to relate to what could possibly go through a human being's mind that says, if you're Mexican, and I'm sorry, if you're dying and you end up on the sidewalk in front of an emergency room at a hospital and you don't have medical coverage, well, too bad. I guess you're just going to have to die. What kind of person would say that?
Yes. And I have a friend that he was a good man. He was working hard. He's trying to bring from Venezuela, trying to bring his wife and children over. He came, he had his papers to work. He went to his court dates every time.
Yes.
And then his last court date about 3 months ago, they picked him up coming out of the courtroom.
Yeah, they, and they even have it set up where there was a judge, and he was on social media, and he was explaining how he was told to dismiss cases. So you come in the front door, you have every right to be there, you're following the rules, you're trying to become legal, and then the judge dismisses the court case, and then the ICE agents are waiting in the lobby, and what do? They put you in handcuffs, and they take you away, and you're deported, and they leave your family standing in the hallway with no explanation and no way to know what happened to you or where you are.
How do you call that a Christian act?
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because I talked to someone yesterday who said, I need to clarify what I mean about, when I talk about the Christians, especially in a negative way. And what I'm saying is, because the person was saying, there's Jews, there's Muslims, but I'm talking about Christians. What I'm talking about is the evangelical Christians, the ones who, like Mike Johnson and the Bible thumpers, and Trump says he's a Christian, and all of the staff, they all say they're Christians, most of them, almost all of them. And like you just said, how can you be a Christian and say that you understand that as of November 1st, 42 million people are going to lose their food stamp benefits, or they're going to be seriously cut in half or less? What kind of person is okay with that? Karen, who would be okay with that?
Yeah. How can they call that a Christian? Do they know anything about their Bible at all? I have a lot of faith. I'm not good in organized religion, because I feel like it's become a weapon. I believe
But
in my
wasn't it
Bible.
always a weapon? I mean, even back in the days of Jesus, wasn't it always a weapon? Wasn't it a weapon to use against people? Always, when the Pharisees use it against Jesus. And I don't want to get in, this is not a religious show, so I'm not going to get too deeply into it.
Right.
But you make a good
the
point, Karen.
cruelty that I'm seeing.
Well, I'm gonna have to get on to
this
some
is
other calls.
cool.
I'm gonna move on. But thank you very much for the call, and it was a good call. Thank you. Okay, let's go to Mark. Hey, Mark, this is Leonard. What's on your mind?
Hey, Leonard, one of the few rare calls that I've been making lately. A lot of people are not going to like what I say. And you know what? I don't mind, and I don't care. I got into politics. I'm going to try to make this quick, Leonard. I got into politics when I was 8 years old. I campaigned for a guy by the name of Marty Satloff in New York. I since moved to PA. And I went door to door handing out flyers. The guy didn't win a council spot, but that's what got me into politics. And in all my years, decades, I have never seen such cowardice in the Democratic Party. They have made me so angry, Leonard, that I never thought I would do this. I changed parties to no party affiliation because I am so sick and tired. And if you people actually think, because the Supreme Court gave him the okay, if you people think that there's going to be an election for the president or even for the midterms, you're in a bubble. You're not in reality. And here's the kicker of all of this. And I hope I'm getting through to some of you people that Trump has stated. Remember when he was shocked that Zelensky went martial law because of a war? He just sent a carrier to South America.
He did. That's breaking news.
Yes, he did that a few hours ago. Hegseth posted it. And this is going to turn into a declared war by Trump. He's not even going to go through Congress. And there is no way that Trump is going to even risk losing the House.
Well, Mark, let me interrupt you real quick and say,
one thing to say. Go ahead.
you're a regular listener, and so I think that you've listened when I was on the air before, and there's a difference between bagging on Democrats, which I'm not afraid to do. If they're not stepping up and they're not doing their job, then they need to be held accountable, and I would agree with that. But at the same time, I think giving up on your party affiliation, and your beliefs is probably what Trump is after. That's probably what he wants to do. And I understand. I agree with you. The Democrats are so worried about losing their job that they're not doing their job. And that's the problem with the Democrats. But there's no leadership. I mean, can we blame them for that? No one is stepping up. No one is shining. Governor Newsom started to, but even lately, he hasn't even been around lately. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I can blame them for no leadership, okay? Nancy Pelosi got on MSNBC 2 days ago and was talking word salad, and then makes a post that they should be held accountable even if they're ICE agents. Who cares?
Well, what she was saying is she's trying to put a little bit of fear. She was trying to put a little bit of fear in the rest of the people that work for Trump. Go ahead.
No. Where's the anger? Where is the talking?
Where's the outrage? I agree. But you can't, and I'm going to talk to you more personally than politically, but you can't give up on a good thing, because I can tell you right now, if you look at the Republicans, there's no empathy, there's no integrity, there's no compassion, there's no caring. And I believe America was built on that. We're supposed to care about our neighbors. We're supposed to care about other people. We're supposed to believe that other cultures and people of other colors and people that don't talk or look like us are just as good and they have just as much value as we do. We're supposed to help our neighbors. Even in the Bible, it says when a foreigner comes into your country to reside, that you are supposed to take care of them. You're supposed to get along with them. That even says that in the Bible. And I think you should seriously consider going back, because we need people like you on the Democratic side who are willing to say it like it is.
One more thing, Leonard, that I said this before and I'm going to say it again. I went when the veterans rally in all the capitals of all the states. I drove with 3 of my fellow veterans. We drove all the way to Harrisburg. That's a 3.5-hour drive for me each way. I drove all the way there. And when we got there, we heard that Chuck bowed to Trump in extending the budget.
Yes.
And we looked at each other and we said, what the F? We got in our cars and we turned around and went back. I was deployed in Iraq. And if you don't have a leader, you're not going to win the battle and you're not going to win the war.
Thank you for your service, by the way.
We don't have any leaders. And why should they have not earned my vote.
I was trying to put that in perspective yesterday, but some of the people in the chat and some people are saying you're oversimplifying it. A caller said you're oversimplifying, and I tried to say as a watch commander, as a lieutenant, as a commander of all of the commands that we have, and being the final decision maker. When I show up to a call, I can't tell my officers on a call where they're looking for leadership, well, let's just, we're going to fight the criminals and we're going to stick together and we're going to hold them accountable, because the officers will be standing there saying, okay, but are we going to create a perimeter? Are we bringing in additional units? What are we going to communicate? What kind of people are inside? What did the callers say? And then you have to make a decision. You have to decide what comes next. And you have to take into consideration the 4th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, the 5th Amendment. You have to take all those things in consideration in almost a microsecond. And a leader tells the people what to do next. And that's not what we're getting. And I don't think Chuck Schumer is going to step aside for anyone. And I don't think Hakeem Jeffries is going to step aside for anyone, no matter how good a leader they are.
Last thing, I was an E5, okay? I was an E5
Sergeant.
When I went in. I was an E5, and going into battle without a leader, I don't care if you have a platoon, a company, a battalion. It don't matter. If you don't have leaders, you're going to be wiped out.
I agree. And thanks for the call. We appreciate your service, and it's always it was valuable what you're saying, and maybe we can talk you into registering as a Democrat again someday.
No.
Let's talk to my buddy Scott. I think it's my buddy Scott. Hey Scott, are you there? It's Leonard.
Yeah, I'm here.
What's on your mind?
How are you? Everything you just shared was what I was trying to convey yesterday. The Republicans are 65 to 70% white, and the Democrats are a broad-based coalition, and that people, if you don't talk to them directly about their issues, they'll change party or they'll sit out. Not that the Democrats don't help people, or I didn't mean to convey that if I did.
No, you didn't, and you sound like a smart guy, but Scott. But let me ask you something. Do you have to be? I'm not that smart of a guy. I have some common sense, and I could put together a plan and stuff. And I'm just your average person with probably just a lot of training and experience. But this is not. I'm not saying this with hubris at all. But is it that hard to say what your position is on immigration and the border and ICE? Is it that hard to say what your position is on Citizens United or on abortion or on the economy or the tax structure or the White House?
No, you're right.
They're making it seem like it's rocket science, because their answer all the time is, not to interrupt you, but their answer all the time is, well, we don't have the power. Okay, so you don't have the power. Does that mean you can't make a plan?
Well, here's why we don't have the power, though. Obama said, go vote.
I agree.
In 2016, I heard Bernie supporters go, I don't think I could hold my nose and vote for Hillary. In 2024, I heard black people say, well, Kamala was a prosecutor and she put black people in prison, so I can't vote for her.
Well, they were clever enough to label Bernie as a leftist and as a socialist. And like I said yesterday, if the Republicans don't like socialism, then they shouldn't drive on the roads that are paved with public money and the streetlights at night and the sidewalks and the parks and the police and a response on 911. That they want to call everything socialism, but they also want to benefit from all the social programs that are in America.
So I got two things, then I'll let you go. One is I'm not really an extreme progressive, but I would have voted for Bernie because I'm a Democrat. There's nothing a Republican can do for me. I'm on disability. I get Medicare. I get a little bit of food stamps. But I would still vote Democrat. I think sometimes if we don't have the perfect candidate that talks to all constituents, and that's what I was trying to say. Some people will go, oh, I'm not going to vote this election. One more thing is I have a friend in Oklahoma who said as of October 31st, she will not have food stamps going into November.
That's a fact. I don't know why anybody's even debating it. It's a fact. It's a literal fact that 42 million people will be affected as of November 1st. And thank you for the call, Scott. It's always good talking to you.
Weekend.
You too. You too. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay, moving on. Okay, next we're gonna Bev.
Literal fact.
We're gonna go to Bev. Bev, are you there?
I am.
What's on your mind, Bev?
Well, I want to have, first of all, I want to say that Leonard's been doing great.
Thank you.
And I want to talk about the commercial with Reagan. I'm Canadian.
Oh, then you must have loved it. Did you love that? Did you love that ad?
Well, I love the fact that it bothered Trump, and he has to say it's fake because no one knew the words fake news until Trump was running the first time. I'm pretty sure of that, but
it rubbed him, not to interrupt you, but just so everyone knows, it rubbed Trump so badly in the right way that Trump canceled negotiations over trade with Canada. That's how much it bothered him.
I know. And Doug Ford, who is the Premier of Ontario, which is, I guess, like a governor of the state, Doug Ford has doubled down and saying, we're going to play it during the World Series.
Oh boy.
Tonight with Toronto and the Dodgers. And I think that's hilarious too, because I think baseball is Trump's supposedly favorite sport to watch. And it's Canada versus California.
Why do you think he gets booed
that's-
everywhere, Bev? Why do you think whenever Trump shows up at these sporting events, they show social media and people recording with their cameras? Why does he get booed almost everywhere he goes?
I'd boo him too, and I'm Canadian, so like, yeah.
Well, Bev, we
deserves
love our
to be booed.
Canadians, and I can tell you, I don't usually speak for Brian. I let him speak for himself, but we love our Canadians, and we appreciate your comments. Unfortunately, we have a lot of people on hold, and we're trying to get to as many as possible. But you have a good weekend,
Okay.
and thank you for your call.
You as well, Leonard. Go Jays.
Okay, go Jays. Yeah, I think I'd like to see the Blue Jays beat the Dodgers. Dodgers won last year, so okay, we're going to go to Robert. Robert, so Leonard, what's on your mind? You got to turn your radio down in the background, Robert. Okay, let's turn your radio down in the background. I don't know if he's there. Robert, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Oh, what's on your mind, Robert? This is Leonard.
Hi, I'm also calling from Canada. I want to say thank you for
Canada.
your support too. Canadians too. Generally we love the Americans also. We know there's a lot of great Americans out there. It's a shame what the United States has turned into now, because I don't understand how this guy could get to such a high position without any checks and balances. And that I understand everybody wants to protect their job. Nobody wants to speak up. They want their salary. But come on. When I grew up, it's always the United States, worldwide, I think, globally, was always known as like the Captain America, the defender of democracy.
The superpower.
The superpower in the world. Of course, global economy, things have changed a bit economically, but still, they've always been the defender of great values and the right way to do things. What Trump has done has put such a stain on it. It's disgusting. And saying that as a Canadian, us Canadians are always polite and all this, and I'll still be polite. It's so sad. We always, we're not as strong as the United States. They were always like the big brother. But again, when you start talking about military and all this, don't forget, it's like they say, it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog. And we have our pride too.
I'm glad they aired that. I'm glad they aired that advertisement, because it just shows. Does it not show that there are ways to stand up to tyranny and oppression? There are ways to assert yourself. There are ways to fight the powerful when there seems to be corruption.
You have to, but will it really change anything? I don't think, again, it's going to change anything to his supporters at all. He just blatantly lies. Another thing I don't understand is, I know he might have immunity, presidential immunity, but even his spokesperson and all this, the lies that they say about people, how are they not getting lawsuits for defamation, let's say, when they literally lie about somebody on air on top of that? I don't understand this, that everybody is letting him get away with this.
Well, a lot of people feel like they have nowhere to go, because it's going to go through the Court of Appeals, and then the Court of Appeals may rule in favor of a defamation suit. But then it's going to go to Supreme Court, and it's going to get shot down. What I think they really have to worry about is, after Trump is out of office, because he will leave someday, all the people behind him, all the people that agreed, they don't have the same presidential immunity. There's nothing in the Constitution. There's nothing to say that they're covered by president. And even if Trump was to pre-pardon them, which I kind of expect that to happen, even if he pre-pardoned them, they still can't get out of state charges. And that's what California's saying. California's saying if we start putting state charges, they're going to stick, because you can't pardon state charges. But we really appreciate your call. We love our people in Canada, eh? And
I didn't say it once, I think, or like. So anyways, keep up the fight. And, I just hope the beauty, America shines again the way it used to.
It will. You have to believe. We can't give up. You have to believe that it's going to happen eventually. Thank you for the call, and call in again sometime.
All
okay,
right,
next we're going to go to Terry. Oh, I'm sorry, Nellie. We'll go to Nellie. Nellie, what's on your mind? Nellie, you there?
Hi. Yeah, I'm here.
Hi.
Hi, Leonard.
How are you, Nellie?
I'm good, and yourself?
Good. I'm having a fun day.
I'm Puerto Rican, born and raised in Chicago. I live in Milwaukee right now. And we're not, the United States right now is not the only place that this stuff is going on. In Puerto Rico, our governor is doing the same thing Trump is doing.
In Puerto Rico?
Over here, yes, and in the Dominican Republic with immigrants.
Oh, that's too bad to hear that. You know, one of my best friends, Will Crespo, he's also a retired lieutenant. He's also Puerto Rican, and we've been friends for decades now. And I thought it was interesting because we were laughing when we found out that Bad Bunny was going to do the Super Bowl halftime show, and they were interviewing MAGAs, you know, the shady MAGA crowd, and they were like, "Well, I don't agree with that, and it shouldn't be a Puerto Rican, it should be an American that does the halftime show." And then, you know, people were like, "Do you not know that Puerto Rico is part of America?" Did they not know that? Do you think that's what happened? Are they that dumb?
Yeah, they are, but this is going on worldwide. It's not the only place. So the governor from Puerto Rico has the same ideology as Trump does.
Do they have
so
like
does
ICE
Dominican
agents?
Republic.
Do they have
Yes.
law enforcement? I mean, are
Yes.
they men dressed in camouflage or T-shirts and
Yes,
jeans
they
with
are.
guns and
Yes,
handcuffs
they
and
are.
unmarked vehicles? Really? I haven't really
Yes.
seen that in the news. Is that just starting to happen, or the news not reporting it?
You got to look at Puerto Rican news like Nuevo Dia, newspaper or online, and Dominican Republic. They're trying to take out the Haitians from there, and then Puerto Rico is taking out the Dominicans. You know, it's a horrible circle that's going on.
Well, you know, I always wondered. Well, some people wonder, or I wonder, why they never made Puerto Rico actually part of the United States, because I believe they pay taxes just like everybody else, but at the same time they have no representation. And I've always felt that the reason why the Republicans fight so hard for Puerto Rico to not become a state is because most of Puerto Rico are good people. They're good, smart, hardworking people. There's a lot of Democrats there. There's independents, but I don't see a lot of them voting for Trump. What do you think?
No, they can't stand them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Well, thank you, Nellie, for the call. We really appreciate it. And I almost went to Terry, so let's go to Terry. And Terry, how's it going? It's Leonard. What's on your mind? Terry, you there?
Yes, sir. How you doing today?
Oh, just another fun day, Terry. Just taking some calls and trying to find out what's on people's mind, what's most important. We've been talking a lot about Trump and the ballroom and some world politics. What's going on?
Oh, I'm sorry. You still there?
Yeah, I think you got to turn your. I hear some radio playback in the background.
Is it okay now?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I don't really have any topic. Oh, by the way, you're doing a fantastic job.
Thanks, Terry.
Good
I appreciate
job.
that.
Good job. So, I don't really have a topic question to ask, but I just want your opinion about something. So these judges that gave Trump the power to do anything, is there a way that they can have the power to take that away from him?
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up, because a lot of people think, since Trump and his cronies only focus on the immunity part that the Supreme Court, I guess, granted him, you got to read the whole decision, because in the decision, one of the reasons they say he has presidential immunity for the decisions that he makes as president is because there's already a remedy. Now, we know there's really not a remedy, and the remedy they were talking about is impeachment in the House of Representatives, because Congress can get together and they could vote to impeach a president. Obviously, we don't have the majority. The Dems don't have the majority in the House of Representatives currently, so that even if somebody brought impeachment proceedings, it wouldn't go through. But the way impeachment works is it has to pass through the Congress, and the Congress does the investigation and brings the charges. If they confirm that the president is impeached, then it has to go to the Senate. And if you remember, The Senate is more like a trial, and they have to confirm that what was done meets the criteria of usually criminal activity, right? Or high crimes and misdemeanors, as they say. But generally, it'll be crimes. Now, the Senate has to have a vote of 60 in order to confirm the impeachment from the House of Representatives. So when you're asking if there's a remedy, the Supreme Court did leave a door open because they explained, hey guys, you do have a remedy, but they really don't under Trump because he has the House, the Senate, he has the White House, and so. But in the future, and I think this is why one of the reasons why Trump will not allow an election to take place, or if he does, he will say it's not valid, is because if he loses and the Dems take the House back and the Senate, they could literally impeach him. The Senate will confirm, and he'll be out. He'll be done. That'll be it. And so he has to bet everything. He has to have all his nuts in one basket, because if he loses the House and the Senate, he's gone. But the Senate's going to be tough, right? Because by law, it has to be 60 votes. So I don't see us taking that higher percentage in the Senate. I hope that answers your question, but that really is, I know we got in the weeds a little, but the listeners need to understand that's exactly the process.
Well, I've had this question on my mind for a long time, and I said, I'm going to call him up sometime, just ask, because I just don't know. Take that power away from
you. Can't charge a sitting president with a crime. That's been established. Although I guess we could try a new standard. And and so even after a president leaves office, people ask, should he be put in jail? Should he be charged with crimes, maybe human rights violations, things like that? Can he be put in jail? And you got to be careful also, because if the Democrats take over the presidency next time around in 28, then in 32, there might be a Republican president. And the first thing he's going to do is put the old president in jail. So you have to be, that's a fine line, slippery slope.
Right. Well, you remember people saying way back, can you imagine Trump with no guardrails? And here it is. And look what's going on.
That's exactly what he wanted. Well, thank you for the call, Terry. Really appreciate your input and your questions. And have a great weekend.
You as well.
All right, moving on. We're going to go to Jerry. Jerry, are you there? It's Leonard. What's on your mind? Jerry? Are you there, Jerry? Do we have him, or we need to move to a different one? Jerry, you still on the line? Okay, we're going to move on, and we're going to go to Pam. Pam, this is Leonard. What's on your mind?
Hi, Leonard. You're doing a great job this week, I got to say.
I appreciate that, Pam.
And you're welcome. I just wanted to, did you say there were 42 million people that were going to lose their food stamps come November 1st?
Well, okay, not what I said was it's going to affect 42 million people. That's fact.
Okay.
But some are going to lose, and some are going to be seriously depleted to the point where they won't even be able to go to the store and buy a bag full of groceries.
Right, and that's why I say we need to support our food banks. If anybody has a little extra cash, they need to buy some food and send it to the food banks. But my point in all this was, in 1776, after the Revolutionary War, there were only 2.5 million people in the United States, and they overthrew Great Britain. Now, can you imagine what's going to happen when we have all these hungry people? Okay.
Well,
there's nothing left to lose.
You got to remember that was and that was a much different time. We're talking about people with muskets and basically putting a bayonet on the end of their musket and running at each other. And so even though there was only 2.5 million people, a war, like a revolutionary war at the time, one of the first wars America fought, was a lot different. Now we have powerful weapons, and we got millions and millions and hundreds of millions of people. So we don't condone political violence. We don't condone violence of any kind.
No,
but
I'm
like
not
you said, when
violence.
people start to starve, Pam,
right?
They're going to be, what are their options? They're going to have to try to, get food by any means. I don't know. And then there's not enough food banks. Thank God for food banks. We hope more open, and thank God for those people that are so generous. But there's not enough food banks to feed all those people, especially 42 million people.
Well, yeah, exactly, and that's my point. Is that we had 7 million people in the protest last weekend, and there's enough people, I think, that if everybody sticks together and focuses, we can make some changes. We don't have to have people starving. The Republicans are supposed to be the right to life folks. And
But,
they're just
let
letting
me ask you
babies.
something, Pam. What do you do when Democrats and the Democratic leadership are in the building? They've been in the building since October 1st. And you have Mike Johnson sending the Republicans on vacation for, I think, 4 weeks in a row. And the Democrats going on the news and saying, we are ready to negotiate. We're ready to sit down. We're ready to save this. We're ready to save Medicare and Medicaid. We're ready to help people with SNAP and WIC and the public programs that they need to survive. And they're in the building. And the Republicans are on vacation. What do you think of that?
I think it sucks. Can I say that on the air?
I don't know. I'll check with the producer. Can we say that? Can we say sucks? Yes. I'm told we can say that.
Okay.
That sucks.
Okay, well it does. It just totally is. It's not the United States of America that I grew up with, helping your neighbor, everybody sticking together, having a common, we haven't had a common focus since 9/11.
Is there something wrong with people that look at, let's say, black people or brown people and hate them just because of the color of skin? And keep in mind, Pam, they hate them for something they can't do anything about. They're born that color. They're born into that ethnicity. They're born with that accent or that other language or that culture. And what kind of person hates people just based on something they can't do anything about anyway?
Okay, and what kind of person would hurt themselves in order to hurt those people?
That's interesting.
Other people.
It's because I got to be honest with you. I've tried to analyze that in my own mind, and I cannot for the life of me imagine why people will be like, I don't care if I have to hurt for a while and lose some money and lose my farm. And I don't care if I have to pay some extra money or if I'm going to lose a job or be out of a job, as long as them other people don't get it. Isn't that kind of what they say?
Well, yeah, and the fact of the matter is they are starting to care. The farmers and the ranchers are starting to care because they are losing their stuff. And I'll tell you what they're really going to care about, because there is no authoritarian government that allows its citizens to hold on to their weapons. So that's coming next.
Well, that's,
all these MAGA folks are going to lose their
fortunately for
guns.
us, there's only 335 million people and there's over 400 million guns. So that's going to be,
I know, but
that's going to be quite the
talking
project.
Civil war now.
But
Yeah,
I
we're
think it's a
talking Civil War
mistake.
now.
I think it's a mistake by the Trump administration to get the cattle ranchers fired up, because they have been a powerful, money-motivated organization since mid 1850s or even early 1800s. The cattlemen rancher associations are extremely powerful, and Trump's pissed them off. He has.
Yeah, we're just going to have to see how. Well, Argentina is where all the Nazis went after World War II. So maybe that's why he's helping Argentina out.
I think maybe that's personal. There's something in it for him. But we're going to move on to another call. Pam, I really appreciate your calls.
Have a nice weekend.
Always a good call with you. You too. Have a great weekend. Okay, so moving on to Gary. Gary, it's Leonard. What's on your mind?
I've just been listening to you. I don't make a move in my days or politically make any decisions unless I listen to you or Parker. So.
Oh, that's pretty good. Complimentary.
Yeah, you guys do an awesome job. You guys got the fight and you hold on tight. But the thing of it is, Vegas shut down their city dump that used to be used there off east of the steamboat there on Henderson Highway.
Boulder Highway.
We worked with,
on Boulder Highway?
The Boulder. It goes out that way. But I say to the steamboat, we were putting in systems there because of the stuff that used to be dumped into your dump. We put in the environmental systems to check the groundwater.
Okay, well,
not being Christian is the thing is what you're talking about. You got to be Christian every day of your life, not just on Wednesday night Bible study and on Sundays. Damn it to hell, you just got to be Christian all day long, every day. That's my point.
Well, and I know this seems rather fundamental and short-sighted, but you're either a Christian or you're not. And my thing is, Christianity is a dogma. It's written out. It's codified. You can look down the list. You can make bullet points and say, this is a Christian. This is a Christian. If you want to call yourself a Christian, then it's already been defined. But if you don't follow those guidelines and that religion and what and what was said in the Bible, then you can't, in my mind, you're just being a pseudo-Christian, a fake Christian.
Yeah,
Thank
right.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the call, Gary. I really appreciate it. And unfortunately, the lines are packed and we got to move on to some other people. And it looks like we're going to be talking to Snooki. Snooki, this is Leonard. What's on your mind?
Hey, Leonard, how you doing? Listen, so I heard the earlier clip with Rachel Maddow about insurance. So I just want to throw something out there. I've been looking today, and I see a lot of Republicans throwing hoopla because Social Security is increasing the federal stipend next year for people that hold Social Security disability, etc. Now you get an increase every year. Last year, it was 3.4%.
Okay.
The beginning of this year, it went down to 2.4%. Now they're looking at an increase of next year being 2.8, and everybody's throwing a hoopla because Trump's increasing it. But let me tell you the kicker to all of this. In that 2.8% increase, it's going to maybe put about, a couple bucks in your pocket from your check. But here's the kicker. Medicare, which is $185 a month, is going up to $206 a month. If you have a supplemental plan like I do, it's going up from $95 a month to $120 a month. Those with Advantage plans will only drop by a couple of dollars. So the hoopla that they're throwing out that, Trump is passing an increase through Social Security in your checks is going to be gone, minus you're going to have to pay in more. So you're really not getting an increase.
Well, you're right.
For lack of better words, yeah.
Well, let me just say, Snooki, from a certain perspective, so those increases come from a lot of places. They come from the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, from inflation, from projections. And so it is there. You got to keep in mind the increases are there to offset what happens with inflation and the Consumer Price Index and the gross domestic product. So it's all tied in, and it's not just so you can make more money. But what I think you're saying is the costs next year are going to outpace the 2.8%. That the relative costs are going to be far beyond the 2.8%. So you're actually going backwards. And when Trump says, by the way, when Trump says that there'll be no taxes on Social Security, that's not accurate. What he's saying is you have to make under a certain amount. I think it's like $25,000. And if you get tax benefits, you still have to file your taxes. And there may be a tax benefit coming back to you. However, that benefit, if it does exist for people who make hardly any money at all and can barely live, goes away within a year. So when he says, he makes it like, no taxes, that's not true. And it only affects people over a certain age. So it, like you said, hoopla, a bunch of BS.
Correct. There's a lot of hoopla. And I saw a lot of it today on different feeds, on Twitter, on Instagram. Everybody's raising the flag, throwing the confetti that people are getting more money in the Social Security, but that's not exactly what's going to happen. Yeah, you're going to get more money, but they're socking it to you by paying more in costs, and not to mention premiums now. So your premiums on your supplemental and your Advantage plans are going up.
All of them. They're all going up. December 31st, every one of them is going up.
Exactly. So you're losing. So people that think, I had a friend of mine call me and say, we're getting this increase next year. And I explained to her, no, we're not getting no increase. We're going to end up paying more out of our pocket and more out of our check to pay for these costs. So we're not coming out ahead. We're coming out even more behind than we were before.
Yeah, an extra, $20, $30, $50 a month isn't really gonna help anyone. But we really, Snooki, you're not the Snooki from the TV show, are you, by any chance?
I'm kidding. No, I just used that Snooki, but yeah, we're Jersey Shore here.
Hey, I had an Aunt Snooki too. So thank you for the call. It was a good call, very informative, and you have a great weekend.
You too, Leonard. Thanks.
Okay. So we're gonna go to Joe. Joe, this is Leonard. What's on your mind?
Hi, I'm calling from Canada. And
Another Canada caller. Great, eh? Canada, eh?
You bet, eh?
Betcha.
Go
You
Jays,
betcha.
go.
No, wait, that's Kenosha. Go ahead.
Okay, can you tell me 9/11? Do you remember what was good about that?
What was good about that is what happened afterwards. And I don't know if that's where you're alluding to, but what happened afterwards is everyone pulled together. Everyone was neighbors. Everyone was brothers. Everyone knew that we had to stick together. Everyone was doing for and helping everyone in every possible way that they could. The leadership was good. I mean, George Bush was a good leader. But what really happened is America became, in part, they were scared, but they became the America that we're supposed to look like. I think that's what you mean, maybe not.
That's 100%. Everybody was together. There were no Democrats.
No,
There
it
were no
was
Republicans.
one nation.
Nobody was white. Nobody was black. They were
standing
just
up to
America.
terrorism. One nation defending the nation, and if your neighbor needed something, if they needed some groceries or whatever, you would go to the store. And I remember, without even saying anything to anyone, they would just show up at your door with some groceries and say, "Hey, I know you had it rough, or you lost somebody, or you know someone, or it affected you, or you lost your job in a certain way." And what happened was, for a short while, it became the America that I would imagine it always should have been.
Yeah, and you think you'll see that again?
I do. I guess I'm one of the, for good or for bad, I'm one of the hopeful. I'm one of the faithful. I believe that, I'm here doing this show. I'm here trying to put out as much information. I'm not trying to go beyond my capacity, but I'm trying to explain to people so they're informed. And I wouldn't do it if I didn't believe that there were good people out there. I still believe there's plenty of good people. There's plenty of good in their heart. It's just that right now there's probably more powerful bad people than there are good people. And I believe that if you look at the American history, there have been times, you can look at the Civil War, you can look at World War II, World War I, and there were times when things were really bad. And you could even go back to the slavery days and where things were really bad. And they thought that it would always be white owners owning black slaves, and that's the way it was going to be. And people were willing to kill, to fight, to keep slavery. But even though it felt to those people at the time that there was no recourse, that this is never going to change, it did. It came around. And there were
and
the
I hope you guys
Emancipation
sure get back
Proclamation,
to
and
that.
there was a Civil Rights Act of 1965. And so, or I think the Voting Rights Act, But anyway, things change for the better, and I believe it will. It's going to take some time. But I think you should hang in there, and you should believe that it can change.
Yeah, I hope it does work. On a lighter side, I want to mention a great, funny YouTube video. It's called "When the ICE Agent is Canadian." Have you heard of it or seen it?
I actually did see something like that, but I don't remember what. I remember seeing something, but I don't remember it very well.
Well, you should take a look at it. It'll be good for a good chuckle.
Okay, we'll take a look at that. And thanks for the call. We really appreciate it. And have a great weekend. And we love Canada.
You too. Thanks a lot, and keep up the fight.
You too. So we're going to Dave. This is Leonard. You there?
Hey, Leonard. How you doing?
What's on your mind, Dave?
Call. I don't know. You see how easy when you take my call? I have one headset on my right ear. I have the other one in my left ear, my Bluetooth, and that's how it's supposed to be.
Well, I can tell you when I was a police officer, I would be in the vehicle, and we had 2 area commands. So I'd have one radio in the car on one command, and then I'd have the radio in my ear on the other command, and I still listened to music while I was driving.
Exactly. That's how
I got used to it. I got to be honest with you. I got used to it.
That's what I did when I worked from home, remotely. I don't understand. Something. I have nothing against your callers, but when I call in a KGO News Talk 810 in San Francisco, with all the personalities and so forth, because it was a very liberal radio station when they went off the air, but I still call Chicago radio every Sunday. But I'm going to tell you right now, I don't understand how some of these people don't know nothing about democracy. What have we learned in school? We haven't learned jack crap. It's amazing. I mean, people, if you want to get your information and just type in food stamps on YouTube, just type in food stamps. There's about like 25 food stamps videos that are out there that you can learn from the people that are hurting. You don't have to get it from an outlet, from TV that they're not going to tell you the truth. Get it from YouTube. Just type in healthcare. Boom, 25 there. Just type in Medicare. Boom, right there. You get all your information on YouTube. It's all there. It's all black and white. You just, why would you go anything else? And
well, what do you do, Dave, about, I mean, I have so many friends and family over the years that say, you know, I mean, they're busy working. They have children and lives, and they work their butts off, and you know, they have hobbies, and
I do too.
And they say, I'm not worried about, I don't pay attention to politics. I'm not worried about it. And just kind of go through their life and never really pay attention until something bad happens.
Right. And, you know, and that's when they, you know, pay attention. You shouldn't have to just watch a couple videos on YouTube, whatever they're talking about on TV, just watch a couple videos, type it on your YouTube, and then watch and just say, oh, they're talking about food stamps. Okay. I'm going to go to YouTube and watch a couple videos and find out some of the hurting people that are out there. Every subject that they're talking to, just go on YouTube and just type it. That's where I learned all my stuff. I've been, you know, these people, they're understandable. If you can't figure out that the Democrats are like this, you know, since Richard Nixon, this has been since Richard Nixon since 1969, you know, all the way to 1974.
You would think we learned. You would think we would have learned from that, right?
The 37th president who was a Republican since Watergate. If you can't figure this, that the Republicans are this way, and you think that they're going to change, then you need to get your head examined.
Well, you know what, Dave? I don't know
they
how.
Don't like people. They don't like needy people.
Let me just say, I don't know how often you listen to the show, but you know, one of my 3-point plans that I give out almost every day is get informed, stay informed, spread the word. I say that almost every day. Because I tried to think of something as simple as it could be when somebody says, what can I do? You say, get informed, stay informed, spread the word. Let everyone know what's really going on out there. And that was a great call. Thank you, Dave, for your input.
Thank you. I appreciate
maybe
it,
some
man.
people will look those up and have a great weekend. Thanks again. Okay, we're going to go to Jeff.
Hey, how you doing?
Hi, Jeff.
Yeah, just a quick note here. You know the merger with CBS and you know, Sam Altman, you know, the merger they had. Well, CBS has changed their blue logo to red background, which is similar to Fox News red background and QAnon and Newsmax red background.
So you think there's a subliminal message there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They've already started to. CBS has already started to go down the MAGA and Fox road, and so now you know you're going to have to look at CBS the same way you look at Fox.
I'm pretty sure CBS logo was always red. Is that what you're saying, or?
No. The CBS logo was always blue.
Blue. CVS or CBS? Oh, you're saying CBS?
CBS. Yeah.
Like
CBS,
Charlie Baker.
CBS was with Paramount, and
okay.
Yeah, and Paramount had that merger.
CBS. No, they're all bending knee. They're all bending knee. They're all you know, licking the boots. They're all afraid, and you know, they're willing to give in. And anybody that fights ends up in a lawsuit and ends up having to pay Trump through a lawsuit. But does it remind you of something like maybe 1933 when they only wanted state-run media and they didn't want freedom of the press, and they wanted to check the stories and sign off on all stories before they went out? Or is it just me, or does that remind you of 1933?
Oh yeah, no, yeah, exactly. That's the state control of all the media, like in like Putin in Russia. You know, they've always had state control of their media outlets.
Yeah. North Korea, same thing. Turkey, same thing. Russia, same thing. You know, they don't allow anything but state-run media. And then basically the state-run media is whatever they put out, whatever stories Kim Jong-un wants them to put out. There's no real media there.
Oh yeah, I mean, for years, you know, it's been questionable whether you know, the problem has been is that like local newspapers have all collapsed, and now you're just stuck with Fox News And and even now the local news that's being taken over to be just like Fox News. So you really have to go to independent sources.
Yeah. If it wasn't for social media, we wouldn't know half the stuff that's going on. But thank you for the call. I appreciate it. Have a good weekend. Have a good Friday, and call back soon. Okay, we're going to Earl. Earl, are you there? This is Leonard. What's on your mind?
Hey, Leonard, how's it going?
Oh, just another fun day.
Yeah, you have to move the seat up.
What do you mean up? Closer? Wait a minute.
Closer,
I know
better.
that voice.
Oh, you know this voice. I'm your number one fan. What's up, man?
Oh, is this Dan?
Yeah.
Dan, you managed. I knew it. I knew you managed to call. I got to give you credit because I didn't think you were ever going to call. But
Leonard, you're a stand-up guy. I had to find time. You're a stand-up guy. I want to give you a
Can
call,
I ask you a question though, Dan? And I know it's kind of a personal question, but don't you think, like, you sound like you're somewhat of a smart guy. Don't you think you could be in the live chat and be more polite to people and not use homophobic slurs and things like that? Like, what's wrong with just interacting with people without trying to provoke them?
So usually when I interact with people, I'm very polite. I've not used homophobic slurs, and usually
that's what the producer says. That's why you got the boot.
Why don't you ask the producer who he follows on Twitter?
Oh, I'm not gonna get into all that, but I think that there's probably, Dan, I think maybe you should consider using whatever skills you have. You say you're an attorney or maybe you're educated, but don't you think maybe you should use your skills to maybe help people or explain to them better than constantly challenging them and trying to chip away at their argument? You know what I'm saying? That's why I said something to you in the first place, because you have females in there who are trying to be polite to each other and you're trying to provoke them, and it's just not good karma. It's just not good.
Let me say this clear to all the listeners. It is a joke for the most part. Unless you get personal, it is a joke.
Right, but if they tell you it's a joke,
even when I mess around with you, Leonard, it is a joke.
But if they tell you, like, I joke with people, and sometimes I go too far. Someone says, "Well, that hurt. That was rude," and then you have to take into consideration their feelings. You can't be like, "Hey, they should be tougher and more callous," And what I'm saying is, if God gave you skills to be intelligent and to debate well, why not use that to help people, to inform them? It seems like you just want negative attention. That's what it seems like to me. You like negative attention. Go ahead.
All press is good press. All press is good press. But Leonard, I appreciate you having this conversation with me, because this is like the most rational conversation I've ever had when we call in, right?
Dan, if you be polite to people, we'd be happy to let you back in the room and to speak to people, and maybe I know it sounds condescending, but I'm way older than you, I can tell. But maybe consider being more informative. You can joke and be informative. I joke around, and me and Brian make fun of people, but we're trying to prove a point and be informative and not provoke them all the time.
I've had plenty of thoughtful discussions in there. Like, don't get me wrong.
I know. I see that, but then all of a sudden you just go off the rails and you start challenging people and with veiled comments about them personally and stuff. And anyway, Dan, I really appreciate the call. I'm glad I got a chance to speak to you.
Good talking to you, Leonard.
Have a good weekend. Okay, do we have time for one more? No, we're good. All right, everyone. This is Leonard Cardinelli coming to you from the Pushing the Limits radio show with your normal host, or I'm not normal, but your full-time host, Brian Shapiro. We'll be back on Monday. And I want to thank everyone in the PTL Nation and everyone in the live chat. I really appreciate the support. And like they say in the live chat, this is like a family. I would like to thank Justin Numchuck for a great job. He really helped me, bailed me out on a couple of occasions. I think maybe it was obvious, maybe it wasn't. But I would just like to say, hang in there, get informed, stay informed, spread the word, have a good weekend, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find